Hey guys, it's Chris and we are here doing a video that's a shorter one. It's in the fat acceptance realm. We are covering a young 32, I believe, year old, 850-pound woman from Milwaukee died, and they couldn't find a funeral home to fit her. They couldn't transport or store her body, and they almost couldn't get her out of her house for a long time. And now her family, who enabled her to get to this point, is mad because the state of Wisconsin wasn't prepared to deal with this situation. I find this very tragic and sad and appalling in many ways. So we are going to listen to this news clip. I'll stop it a couple times as you do in commentary, and I will we'll discuss it. It's insane. Humans, while physically obviously can get this big, were never meant to be this big, people. So yeah, I'm still dealing with, the strep throat. I'm about a day and a half, just under 2 days. Just started my second full day of the antibiotics. I haven't had strep or been on an antibiotic in like a decade, guys. Almost. It's crazy. It's hurting a lot less, but it is still very swollen. My tonsils are very swollen, and I still have, like, I do feel a little bit just like lethargic. Like somebody in my comments said they had strep and they felt like they had the flu, and that's kind of what's going on. So we're dealing with that. Thank you guys for all your well wishes. You are so awesome. So that being said, let's listen to this. I'll stop it a couple times, and I'll link this news article, this little interview down below too. But let's get into this. And yes, from what I heard, she was only 32 years old. So this woman was, when I was 32, I was pregnant with my son. I was having my first baby, my only baby I got to have, and living it up. So it's like life hadn't even started at that point. So this is tragic.
Only on Fox 6, Dignity in Death. A Cudahy mother is sharing her story after her daughter died. She suffered from morbid obesity, and because of her weight, getting her to the proper funeral arrangements was nearly impossible. Christina Van Zels talked with the mother, who says it took nearly a day to get her daughter out of their home.
That's sad.
Beautiful
A
soul,
day.
contagious laughter.
Carolyn Alvario's daughter.
And keep in mind, the mother is clinically severely obese as well. And all the pictures they're showing of this girl were not at her heaviest, because this woman did not look like this. She wasn't standing up for pictures and stuff at 850 pounds. This woman was probably completely bedbound, could no longer stand, and was probably, not trying to sound rude, but was probably as big as her mattress. So all these pictures they're showing of this happy, bubbly young woman, that's not what she was really like at the end. That was probably about 400 pounds ago.
Out of their home.
Beautiful soul, contagious laughter.
Carolyn Alvario's daughter, Cassandra Ortiz, passed away a week ago. But remembering the light she brought to this home got clouded by what happened there after she died.
I don't wish what we're going through. I don't wish that on anybody.
The Milwaukee County Medical Examiner says Ortiz weighed 850 pounds.
And yes, but the thing is they brought this on themselves. At 850 pounds, this woman could probably barely stand up, was more likely completely bedbound, like I said. Who's bringing her food? Her parents, her family. They're bringing her not only the type of food she was eating, which was no doubt unhealthy, but they were bringing her the quantities, the massive quantities of food as well. Were they paying for it? Most likely they were paying for a lot of it too, unless she was on disability. Her money covered part of it. But this woman had to have been eating in excess of 8,000 calories a day to get up to 850 pounds, probably more like 10,000. That is so much freaking food, guys. Even in like junk food, even in like McDonald's and crap like that, that is still an unholy amount of food. And like, I'm not trying to like, I kind of am. I'm putting the blame on the parents to a large degree. Because at this point, they could have told this girl, no, I'm not bringing you the food. I'm not bringing you this much food. You'll get this much and that's it. Scream, cry, yell, whatever you want. I'll shut the door. I'm not going to listen. Or I'm not going to bring you unhealthy stuff. I'll bring you healthy stuff that you want. Tell me what you want, but I'm not bringing unhealthy stuff. And it's not lost on me, like I said, that the mom is very obese. Dad's probably big. Chances are they were right there eating it with her. They didn't want to give up this food. They didn't want to give up the junk. They're overeating, so they certainly couldn't tell their daughter to do it right. Just a tragic situation, and everybody in that house is to blame.
Alvario says because of her weight, no one had the capacity to handle the case.
And again, that woman's probably 400 some pounds there, 500 some pounds maybe. So this isn't happy, standing up, doing things with the family, smiling. This isn't what she looked like at the end. You got to remember, the woman was probably another 250 pounds on that. Hold on. I hit the mute button.
No one had the capacity to handle the case.
There's not a funeral home that would take her.
It took nearly 12 hours to move Ortiz out of the home.
To walk in that room and just keep seeing her there. And it's like, oh my God, when are they going to get my baby out of here? They need to get her out of here.
Yeah, the chances are, and they're not saying everything, they probably had to remove a wall or widen a door frame or like break out like the wall near a window to get her out. That's just, I'm sorry, it's humongous. It's huge. It's inhumanly big. And it causes problems. But the thing is a lot of these overweight people too, I'm not saying this was the case with Cassandra, but a lot of these overweight people, these obese people, they don't care. Like, I can absolutely see somebody like Amber or Foodie not giving a crap what happens once they're dead, because you know, people are saying, don't you think about this? Didn't you think about what would happen? No, somebody like Amber and people who eat this much, these people are inherently selfish and greedy. And they would absolutely say, I don't care what happens. You have trouble getting me out. You can't find a place for me. Not my problem anymore. I'm dead. It's not on me. So it is a very selfish way of thinking. And the funeral homes cannot handle them because they can barely fit in a hearse. They can't fit on the embalming tables. She couldn't even fit into the cold storage freezers they have to keep a body from rotting. And you may think I'm exaggerating and making things up, but I shit you not. Somebody like that is very dangerous to cremate because there is so much fat. It's just like when you cook a super duper fatty piece of meat on a grill or something, the fat drips down. It can cause a grease fire. There have been stories on the news of funeral homes and crematoriums burning down and catching fire because there is so much excess grease in a morbidly obese person, so much excess fat that they literally start a grease fire. And that, I believe, was with somebody who was in their 400s. So imagine the risk, the danger of cremating a person this size. I would imagine sometimes they might have to I think they had to find a special crematorium, or back in the day, they would maybe have to remove body parts And, why is that word eluding me right now, where you remove body parts, where you like hack off arms and I'm like, I got fog on my brain. Dismember. Yeah, they would have to dismember them to get them to fit. And that's just for cremation. To bury somebody this size, to order a special casket, to order at least 2 burial plots, to find pallbearers, and so it is a challenge and it is expensive.
The owner at Church and Chapel Funeral Home, Ted Larson, wanted to help. The Cudahy Fire and Police Department and Larson's team eventually moved Ortiz.
There were at times 20, 30 people in this house trying to help this family address this situation.
Larson says there isn't a crematory in the Milwaukee metro area large enough.
So they had to transfer her out to another state to get her done, because I'm sure there are some specialty crematoriums now because people in America are getting so gigantic. But yeah, then it took like tons of people to move her and lift her. This is danger. I was a paramedic, most of you guys know. And for people to like move and lift people like this, it puts a lot of other people in danger. They risk hurting their backs, hurting their knees, straining themselves, giving themselves a freaking hernia. It's dangerous all around. So when people sit there and say, my weight is not your problem, blah, 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 it doesn't affect you. In a lot of ways, it really does. From what I just explained to the additional costs in our healthcare system and insurance and stuff, using of resources, to using resources like food and stuff like that, increasing the cost of just overall goods because of the overconsumption, to environmental costs. Driving somebody around that's big, you use more gas in your vehicle. That woman, she eats like 4 times what she should eat, what a normal woman should eat. So she produced and put out 4 times the amount of garbage, 4 times the amount of food containers, takeout containers, garbage. She put 4 times what she should be into our environment. So obesity is not singularly your problem. It's very selfish, and you think solely of yourself, but it is very one-sided, especially when you get to these sizes. If you're like 15, 20, 30, even 40 pounds overweight, 40, you're starting to really get to where you have a problem. But I mean, if you're 50, 60, 100 plus pounds overweight and to this point, your obesity is everybody's problem. Unless you're paying for everything. Well, even then, it's still a multifactorial problem.
Ortiz had to be transferred to Illinois, but because the fire department was called to a fire, Ortiz remained in that van overnight for safety reasons.
And then they had to transfer her. They had to pay to have her driven to Illinois. They had to keep her in the van overnight because she wouldn't fit in the freezer. So then either the funeral home's van, or if it was one of the fire department's vans or something like that, that unit for the rest of the night until they got rid of her was out of service, therefore not being able to be used to care for or provide that service for somebody else. So again, do you see what I mean? It is other people's problem because she was tying up that service for other people for over 12 hours.
Myself and my colleagues were not capable to take her from our van and to put her onto any type of table that could be large enough to.
Okay, so it was a funeral home van. Okay, so she took that funeral home van out of service, and then they didn't even have a funeral, like they didn't even have a mortuary table big enough for her. And let me tell you guys, I've put people on these tables in my time as a paramedic, and They're bigger than they used to be. People are so much bigger that these tables in modern times are bigger and sturdier and stronger, more capable of holding bigger people. They're wider than they used to be 40, 50, 60 plus years ago. So, and then she couldn't, like I said, she couldn't even fit in the cold storage, and she'd already been in her house for 12 hours. So, like, I'm not trying to be rude, but by then her body is bloating and stinking, and like, it's just oh my God. And then you don't like to see somebody's body go through that, right? Like, you don't want to see this woman rot and stuff like that. You don't ever want to see your departed loved ones, you know, like that, even though it's just their physical body. It's still their physical body, right? That would break my heart. That's why, like, those people that get unalived by other people and get tossed into a field or a stream or something, and then people come across them and they're just sitting there rotting, like, you know, just like an animal or a piece of garbage or something. That's not how it's supposed to be in modern society. You know, you want your loved ones handled with care and appropriately. So this is a terrible situation.
Accommodate her.
With her having sat so long in the bed and having sat so long in the van, even if we wanted to, we couldn't do.
Like this picture here, look, this picture of her standing in the road, like if this is a graduation picture or something, this was not this woman at the end. And this is not 850 pounds. This woman's probably between 350 and I'd say 400, 420 here, depending on how tall she is. So when she was dead, when she passed, she was double that, probably could not even stand. So mom and dad, whoever enabled her, is to blame. Mom has clearly got a weight problem. Wouldn't surprise me if dad did. They didn't want to give up the food. They all sat and ate together. They like, I'm very sorry they lost their daughter. I can't imagine losing my child. I just can't. But I'll be damned if I ever in my life sat there and did that to my child. No matter what I would do to myself or anything like that, no matter if I took care of myself in a shit way, there's no way I would do that to my son. Never in a million years. Because I love him too much. And I'm sure these people loved her, but they clearly all have a food problem and they didn't want to give it up and they didn't tell her no, and now she's not here.
A funeral.
Alvario urges other families to pre-plan arrangements. She wants the state of Wisconsin to have a protocol for situations like her daughter's.
Something's got to be put in place,
so no family has to deal with the challenge during an already difficult time. Christina Vans.
And do you hear that? The state of Wisconsin should have protocols in place for when something like this happens so that the families aren't already stressed. No. I'm going to get mad. It's not the state of Wisconsin's problem. That is you. You eat yourself to a size where you're outsizing mortuary slabs and crematoriums. That doesn't fall on what state you live in or what state I live in. That's 110% a you problem. That's a risk you're taking. You don't put this on the state. Oh, poor us. The state wasn't ready. And they shouldn't be. Do you see, like, the selfish nature and the entitlement? And this is part of the reason, one of the many reasons people hate fat acceptance. I feel incredibly terrible that this young woman who essentially had an entire lifetime ahead of her died. I feel bad that she loved food more than her own life. And I feel bad that she had an obese family who also loved food more than they wanted. And they wanted that food more than they wanted to not only get her help and change, but they didn't want to change themselves. So they didn't force her to change because they didn't want to give up the food too. So very, very tragic. I know I'm speaking some hard truths and it may come across as being mean. I'm not trying to be, but facts are facts. And just another young person with their whole life ahead of them is gone because of problems with obesity and overeating and food and just the gluttonous lifestyle that we're glorifying here in the States. It's tragic, but let me know if you've heard about this. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you guys come across any articles or stories like this, or you have any people you want me to look at and think about covering, let me know. Put them in the comments and I'll definitely check them out. This is tragic and we need to speak out about it as much as possible. So, but anyways, if you don't want to leave, if you don't have a comment where you don't want to say anything and you want to help the algorithm, leave some flowers, leave a pretty flower, whatever kind you want in the comments. And I don't know, we just got to stop this stuff from happening, guys. So anyways, I appreciate you watching this one. I will see you guys in the next video.